reported non-natural events. Events that many paranormal investigators claim are outside the scope of current science. This would include ghost hunting, of course, but also UFOlogy, cryptozoology, and telepathy. However, my focus tonight will be on ghosts, because I don't believe that ghosts exist.
I think we should play a game. Start playing some game.
Well,
'Cause
specifically, a dead
I can't keep up attention for too long
to the living.
on just one thing.
Normally in the form of humans, but other animals have been reported. We've also given them many names like spirit, spook, or specter.
Just want to have a few shots.
Some religious folks even believe
Some pot
they
shots.
are demons.
Pot shots.
The demon only
Shots of
uses
pot.
the appearance of a ghostly family member for trickery, making exorcism
Display capture.
just being another part
I'm gonna
of the day job.
move display capture.
Though if not evil, then
And
many events of tragedy.
location capture.
Loved ones,
Call of Duty.
relatives, family. In a story, a brutal murder seems like a good emotional underpinning that would keep a person around after death.
Emotional underpinning.
However, there's no real connection between a horrible thing happening and becoming a ghost.
What do you mean no real
Just
connection?
as someone dies when something really awesome happens, like eating cinnamon roll ice cream, shouldn't affect them becoming a celestial being.
What?
Though a proper
It's the most incongruent thing I've heard.
is hard to come by. You could do a seance with a medium and try to throw a ghostly tea party.
Why is it starting?
Or just go straight Dark Lord.
Come on, Call of Duty, start. Please.
Neither method has any scientific backing, but they look great at cosplay parties. So when people point out orbs or bright spots on photographs as evidence of people communicating from the dead,
Just kept showing me some banner.
Natural skepticism. We should also talk about pareidolia. Pareidolia is our brain imposing a perception of meaning onto information where none is present. We do this all the time as we gaze up at clouds on our fat asses, creating castles and dragons from our own imagination. It also has a tendency for us to see faces, like when we see Jesus.
There we go.
It's one of the many mundane reasons for why we see ghosts in pictures. There are even devices you can buy that claim to help you find paranormal activity, like a ghost box, which says it can help users find electronic voice phenomena, which people say is the recording of spirits. I've heard some of these EVPs, and they're never impressive. Often sound effects, words, or just gibberish.
It's not.
That get translated to have a meaning by the listener. Lastly, I'm not a fan of the shtick called an afterlife, which is a concept many ghosts hinge on. The notion that we can indeed live on after death, which goes counter to everything we currently know in modern science. I say currently because most mislabeled paranormal events may in fact have an unknown
why aren't you capturing?
Natural explanation. And it is damn well sure that we don't know everything and are constantly learning as we use the scientific method to explore the universe. If ghosts are real,
Aren't you showing?
I didn't know they existed. I think I have an open mind and can be demonstrated to be wrong, but my standards of evidence are the same as someone getting surgery for cancer or proving that a certain amount of planets exists in another solar system.
Okay.
These have empirical answers. So too does the
Game
question of
capture.
ghosts. So what would I need to believe such ghosts are real? Well, if we could go back to Hollywood for a minute, the bar that I'm looking for is Ghostbusters. I recently watched the original movie for the first time, and let me tell you,
Wow, movie.
So-called ectoplasma or
She's bringing movie as an example in debate.
like Nickelodeon's Gak, a
Phenomenal.
ghost physically interacting with food worse than I do. And how friggin' cool are ghost traps? Which, by the way, are a straightforward methodology of catching ghosts. Something modern ghost hunters struggle to do. 2 people shoot a beam, don't cross streams, and lower the ghost into a trap. They even have methods of long-term containment. Those 3 scientists get shit done. That's what I, as a skeptic, want. I'll end with this. Like many other skeptics,
As a skeptic, she wants movies. Wow.
that is to say, fake
Skeptic, you want
like
movies.
Penn and Teller do.
As a skeptic, you want fantasies. Movie fantasies she wants. That's her whole opening statement. That in order to convince her, you have to develop some fantastical scenarios where scientists, in lab coats, are solving them, are trapping ghosts in a box. Wow, that's the level of fantasy she needs. Detoners.
As a skeptic, I'm looking for something
I'm not interested in this, man. Where's my plunder? I just love plunder so much.
My mind can be changed. However,
Zombies, rank play, Borges.
Require extraordinary evidence. Or Patrick Swayze.
Plunder, man. Why else you want to play anything else?
You got it. Thank you very much for that opening statement,
You got it.
Amy. And want to let you know, folks, a couple of
Got
things.
it.
One, very exciting.
You got
Next
it.
month, Alex Stein returns, taking on MC Toon on whether
Oh
or not
yeah, Alex
it was
Stein.
a hoax. You don't want to miss it. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. That way you get a notification for that debate as well as many other juicy debates. And so with that, we're going to jump into open conversation. Thanks so much, Amy and Dominic. The floor is all yours.
So, as far as those things are concerned, I think we need to separate, as with any credible paranormal investigation, you need to separate the fake from the reality. So, in all respect to Amy, Ghostbusters or Hollywood, if you're looking for your evidence there of true
Exactly.
forces of nature, you're really not going to find it.
Exactly what I meant.
In
Yeah. That's
the
correct.
realm of Hollywood or in Ghostbusters. Now,
Hollywood.
I've been on investigations where recently, it was less than 2 weeks ago, where a gentleman that was with us, we have the video evidence of this and the pictures of this, was literally scraped up to the point. My video photographer was scraped up to the point where he actually had to go to the hospital because the blood loss that he had from these scratches.
Pardon my interruption. Is someone rubbing their microphone on accident? It's just that there's this continuous, almost scratching noise of like something rubbing against like a mic.
Okay. Let me see. Did it go away?
I don't hear it anymore.
So, I don't know what that was, but I'm actually currently in a place that actually is haunted. I'm actually my office. This building is over 200 years old. So we might have some direct, if not real, paranormal activity here. and I apologize for that. As far as things are concerned, I've been in
for 1 second.
Yeah, sure.
Because I will say, it's not that I'm looking towards, Hollywood for my science. I would say that they are the best representation, at least fake, of a physical interaction. And so I've looked at things where, like the electronic voice phenomenon, and I wish we could get something that was like, "Ooh, I am a ghost and I am stuck," but instead it's always like, "Bruh, bruh," and then someone misinterpreting or not misinterpreting, going, "Did they say Bob?" And everyone goes, "Oh, it must have been something like that." And then I listen to it over and over and over, and it just sounds like gibberish. And so my
Okay.
question would be, from the scratching, you said someone got scratched. Your video cameraman got scratched, and the vent was reported, and so you had to take him to the hospital. Can you bring me back to that event?
Yeah, I can't do this earphones thing. Going to
have a real foundation or a platform to what really happened. Let me just go to this website.
just need the application and my mic.
I'm just going to get the information so this way we could show it. Let's see here. Mystic Bridge. Let me see what I got here. I appreciate your patience as I pull up the information. So basically, my cameraman was just videotaping. I actually saw something red on his shirt. I said, "Hey, Steve, what's going on with your shirt?" I lifted it up, and he was bleeding profusely with the scratches that were just absolutely unbelievable. This happened less than, like I said, 3 weeks ago. It has just been unbelievable evidence at that time. The scratches, he didn't feel them. They came without warning. He was just totally scratched up, and it was just really unreal how bad he was literally scratched up, to the point where we actually literally had to take him to the hospital. In the process of looking for this information, I've seen people literally choked, pushed against the wall. I've seen people pushed downstairs. It's been unbelievable. I've seen our equipment has shut off by itself. Our camera glasses, the camera glass has cracked inside the camera on investigations out of nowhere. And it's really unbelievable. I mean, the best way to, and once again, not to go back to the Hollywood stuff, but if you're going to go to Hollywood and you're going to go to the shows on TV, I think it's important to understand that they're for entertainment purposes. If you watch the show for 45 minutes and nothing happened, or they had no EVP evidence, that show would be over really quick. I welcome the both of you to join me on a paranormal investigation. I would love to have you join me on our next investigation, so you yourselves could witness, if you want to call them paranormal activities. We don't call it paranormal. At Universal Paranormal, what we call it is life investigations. We have the respect of realizing that these people once lived. We realize the tragedies of their lives. We realize that they deserve our respect. So we call them not paranormal investigations, but life investigations. It's more of a documentary or historical evidence, or getting evidence of what they actually did and how they lived, that caused them to either be a residual spirit, or to stay in the location that they are out of let's say fear, out of fear, or out of regret, or out of a loss, or out of sheer emotions of what happened in their life. So
the most Masonic emblem
information.
The wow was silence.
Because I actually have a lot of questions from what you said.
Go ahead.
Just off the top, I want to know, is it ever a ghost out of happiness? Like, it was a ghost that was just so happy, and then they died, and then they got stuck, and you're just like, oh my God, this ghost is trying to convince us just how happy they were right before they died.
Well, I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna bring in an event that happened in Zaytun, Egypt, that was witnessed by hundreds of thousands of people all across the world, and this was the formation, the spiritual energy of Mary, at the church in Zaytun, Egypt. It was actually where Mary and Joseph stopped off to rest, at this particular location, and this is well documented. There's video of this. There's pictures of this. Mary actually appeared on the top of the church with doves in Zaytun, Egypt. Not only did presidents around the world witness it, there were miracles that happened to people that were not only Catholic, but Christian and Muslim and Indian. And Mary actually appeared on this church for a span of 6 months and literally healed the entire nation. At the time, Egypt was going through a huge civil war against the Christians, and were actually killing people in their houses. And Mary appeared on this church and literally ended these attempted massacres on the Christians and Catholics that were in that particular region.
Can I just, before you go on, I really want to just get like a one-sentence summation. You are saying an image of Mary in Egypt helps save a nation temporarily
actually saved the nation. It wasn't an image. It was the appearance of Mary, the illumination of Mary, Mary in true form in Zaytun, Egypt. And it's something that most people have forgotten and don't really reflect on, as far as, to answer your question, well, are there good spirits or are there bad spirits? Some people would not refer to Mary appearing on a church as being paranormal, but the sheer definition of paranormal defines it as being that. So it was a religious experience. Christ walking on water. Is that a paranormal experience, or is that a religious experience?
So let's just freeze that actually for 1 second. What would you say to someone who comes from a Jewish background and is now an atheist, who is like doubly biased to not believe the Christian mythos? What would you say?
That's a personal decision, but that's a personal decision that I don't know the events of that individual's life, but as far as things are concerned, I would walk them through the apparitions and of Mary that have been visited by the saints. I'd walk them through the miracles at Lourdes and show them images of what happened at Lourdes. I'd show them and literally walk them to the incorruptible saints whose bodies after 200 years are still moist, are still dripping blood, are still sweating, are still movable, that are all bendable, and actually present you with the oils of the saints that actually have healed people from hundreds of countries all around the world, where these smells and these scents and these oils once touched to flesh that was putrefied, or people that were suffering from incurable diseases, all of a sudden were healed. Now this is based.
Can I freeze you again? You said incurable diseases. Can you give me an example of one of the incurable diseases that I assume a spirit healed?
Well, let's go back to St. John Paul II. So in St. John Paul II, when this woman had prayed to St. Paul John II, she had cancer. It was on X-rays. It was confirmed that she had cancer. She all of a sudden, there was no cancer in her system. When Mary appeared in Zaytun, there's a woman also suffering from breast cancer. Mary appeared to her in her room, and we had the X-rays of her showing that she had cancer. And the next morning, it was totally gone. Right here on Long Island, New York, this man was suffering from stomach cancer. He was just driving down the street one day. There was a man on the side of the road.
Oh, there's some rubber banding. Oh man.
The The man talked to him. He touched his stomach and said, "You'll be fine." The man got out of the car. He dropped him off. He told his wife about the man. She said, "Do you realize who you were speaking with?" She goes, "That was Saint Padre Pio." She said, well, she had a prayer card on her desk. She goes, "That's the man I saw." He's like, "That's the man I saw." He goes, "Who was that? Is that a family member? Is that a friend? I just picked him up. I just gave him a ride." She goes, "No, that's Saint Padre Pio." She goes, "Where did you see him from?" And his car right now is actually in a church in New York, where Padre Pio literally healed this man of cancer. And we're not talking about something that happened 100 years ago. This happened like 10 to 20 years ago. And the man has no stomach cancer in his system. So the investigations that we do, like I said, are not paranormal. They're more life investigations where we make sure that the documented evidence is real 100%, and that it could be, we're not Hollywood. This is not, some paranormal TV show. What we do at Universal Paranormal is go through the entire life investigation from beginning to end. I want to see the evidence. I want to make sure it's real, and I want to make sure I can present that to our audience or to the people that we're communicating with or have relationships with, to make sure that they understand that it's real with the scientific evidence that goes along with that.
And so before you go on,
Stop dying.
another good point about Hollywood is I think that most of the ghost hunter shows are fake. That is my belief, that they're scripted. Now, my question is, even if you agree with me, in fact, if you agree with me, my question is, what makes you different than the ones that are on TV? Why are you the real deal when it comes to ghost hunting?
Well, let me explain that. That's a great question, Amy. Like I said before, all of our investigations are done in reality. We have certain equipment that we use that really gets us evidence that we need to have in order to present real evidence. Everything that has ever happened to us happened in real time, and it's all been documented in real time. If you look at some of those shows, like when we do an investigation, we do estates, we do houses, we do World Heritage sites, and these people don't want anyone to know that we actually investigated these sites with the equipment that we use, because they don't want to bring national attention to themselves. So we actually go in, we get the evidence, we present the evidence to them, and some of that evidence is so extreme and so unbelievable that I only wish we had the permission to view it. But with the evidence I'm going to show you tonight, that basically happened to me and my team, hopefully that will persuade you to come up with your own conclusion. Now, you're correct. She goes, "Well, why do you say that are the Hollywood shows fake, or why are the TV shows fake?" I would say in their execution, they are not fake. But in the end production, some of the material that they receive is absolutely real. I'm not the one to say it's fake. I wasn't there on site. Just as if, Amy, you came with me and said, "Well, Dominic, I want to go on an investigation," and then something happened to you, or you experienced cold, or you were scratched, or you were pushed, and then what we call...
Man, I hate this lag, bro.
...to the paranormal. You're literally baptized in another world because you were brought into that world through an experience that you personally had that literally shaped your life being on that investigation. So what we do in our life investigations is we make you come with us, and we literally baptize you into, if you want to call it, the paranormal world, by allowing you to experience what you would normally wouldn't experience sitting in your living room watching TV. I am not one to say if those TV shows are fake or real. What I would do is have you go and decide on your own if you think they're fake or real. But all the TV shows, if you look at them, if you look at the credits, it says writer 1, writer 2, writer 3, writer 4. We don't have that. We have documented real evidence to show you exactly what is real and what we experienced. You are correct. On some of the EVPs, they're absolutely horrible. I don't know what equipment they use, but the EVPs that we have people in real sentences, responding intelligently. We use the best equipment that's out there. Just because if it's expensive doesn't mean it's good, but we use the equipment that we know that we could calibrate correctly in terms of the atmosphere inside the location, even the altitude can affect your equipment, so we get the best equipment possible. The time of day, if it's 1 to 3 o'clock, the witching hour is 3 o'clock. The reason why they call it the witching hour is because Christ was crucified at 3 o'clock, in the afternoon. So the witching hour is now 3 o'clock at night. So we have 3 o'clock when Christ was crucified, and the opposite of that would be 3 o'clock in the morning, which is why they call it the witching hour, which is when most paranormal things happen, where the energies from the moon, which would be either epigee or perigee, would reflect.
Actually, let me just read, because you said the word equipment a lot. You're using real equipment trying to detect reality. And I'll tell you, reality is very important to a skeptic. We are trying to figure out what is true, and we want to believe as many true things and as few false things as possible. And you are saying you use equipment that is different than the others that you have seen. So I guess my question is, what is this type of equipment that separates you, and what is it doing?
There is, when your vision.
Oh my god, what the hell, bro?
You can only get a certain spectrum. Your eyes are only allowed to see a certain spectrum of colors and of images. The equipment that we use basically allows us to see the full spectrum. So when you see like the rainbow, that's a spectrum of light that you can see. There are other spectrums of light that you can't see, whether it be infrared, whether it be radiation, whether it be energies that are just that just cannot be detected by the human eyes. What we do is use equipment that actually allows us to see the full spectrum cameras, infrared. Some of these things you cannot see with normal vision, and you do need that equipment to see these energies, because this is what these energies are created with, created from. So it is very important that you make sure that you're doing it in the right environment, the right time of day. You have the proper equipment that can see what you can see. There have been certain times when I'd walk into a room right in front of me. I can't see it with my normal eyes, but through the infrared or the spectrum camera or the spectrum pictures we get, they show up as clear as day. And I'm going to show you some of that. When you mean
tonight. Catch, and that sounds good to me. When you mean catch, you mean catch on video. Or catch on photography.
What we capture on video, correct. The evidence that we have, I've never seen any other paranormal team pick up the evidence that we had. I've never seen any other paranormal team present the evidence that we have. And I would like to go over that now if you'd like to see some really cool things.
Sure.
And you can tell me, well, that's just a piece of light. I don't know what that has to wind. But I think some of the things that you see tonight may just convince you.
And that sounds good. I just want to have one last definition on the table, which is the word energy. I follow a physics definition, which means to do work. That is my definition that I think has a lot of application in the real world. My question then flip back to you is, what is energy?
Energy is so fascinating, because energy is truly never destroyed. Let me tell you why. In the Big Bang, do you realize that everything that you see, everything that you're touching, everything that you're made of, you're literally made up of stardust. Everything that you see is made up of stardust. I'm not talking about like stardust like pixies and fairies. I'm talking about real stardust. When the Big Bang occurred, it was one of the
Big Bang didn't occur, bro. What the hell? No. You're not doing that well, man.
The entire universe, which created the universe.
To support your argument, you can't rely on these theoretical concepts.
So let's look at it very simplistically. You have water.
You can't be relying on these theoretical concepts.
Vapor, or it could be a solid. You can't destroy water. No matter what you do, if you drink it, if you boil it, if it goes in the atmosphere, it just comes back down, you can never really destroy energy. So let's look at energy as far as radiation. Let's look at energy as far as magnetism. Let's look at energy as far as just what binds your molecules together so you can live and breathe. I mean, there is so much energy that we as humans have not yet identified, such as black matter out in space. Why is the universe spreading and distancing itself from all the other planets? Why in another 200 to 300 years you won't see any stars? Because the universe is expanding. We can't see that energy, but we know it exists because we know, they've taken calculations. They did, the magnetrons and telescopes. We know the universe is expanding at a faster rate every 200 to 300 years. So in time, your children's children won't see the same sky that me and you see now, because the energy that's there is literally separating and unfolding before us. So,
and I agree with you.
As far as different dimensions, there's different everything. So we'd be very naive to think that this huge universe that we live in, which is what we can tell is unending, that we're the only type of energy or the only type of life in this particular.
I agree with your last two statements about dark energy, which is what seems to be the mechanism, or it is the force.
Just to keep us on track, pardon my interruption, but just to keep us on track in terms of a quick definition of energy. Otherwise, if there isn't going to, if you feel satisfied with that one, Amy, otherwise, it is a good opportunity to go into the video content. But I said, I'll leave that to you, Amy, so that we don't go too far into dark matter and things like that.
Right,
absolutely.
So let's take water
I just want to ask one last question on that.
Right.
Do you think that this are ghost spirits, whatever you want to call them, are they an energy that we know of? Is this an energy that we have not explained? And then I'm all good for looking into...
You're correct. You're absolutely correct. Let's go into that. Like I was trying to explain, with dark matter, we don't know what it is, but we know it exists. Just like with spirits. We know that the energy's there. We know energy can't be destroyed. So what happens to your spirit? What happens to your soul? What happens to, when you go through that real emotional, whether you get raped or you get murdered, you get killed, that energy actually absorbs into the environment, which actually is residual, which actually plays back when everything is in motion, just like the universe. When everything is in motion, and you have the certain time and the certain energies, everything lines up. You see, you see, let's say a rainbow, or you see the aurora borealis from the magnetism of the Earth. Once those energies actually line up, energy is never destroyed. Your energy that's in you just gets transformed. So when you pass away, or when you die, or it's a traumatic experience, or you leave too soon, that energy is absorbed into the environment, or your spirit gets transferred. Your body, which is a capsule, your spirit leaves your body and then becomes this new form, this new energy. Whether you want to call it heaven or nirvana or anything.
Dude.
Does that make sense?
Amy, do you feel satisfied?
Energy can't be destroyed.
Oh my god.
Now is time.
We want to hear from Amy.
Like to show that evidence. You said you wanted to show something, and then
I'll show you a couple of things, and you guys can make your own opinion, and we'll go over it. Okay.
Sure. And then I have more questions, even about the specific encounters that you have come across with ghosts. I'm still interested in the gentleman getting scratched, but I'm all up for seeing what you had to show.
Yeah, I'm just trying to pull up those images right. It's for some reason. My computer's not allowing us to see those images, but I'm going to be pulling those up really soon. Let me get up the videos so we can get going and actually do this tonight. So give me a second. Let me pull up the videos really quick. I'm going to share my screen here really quick. Let's go like this.
What the hell?
Okay, can you guys see my screen? Yes, you can.
Yep, already.
Dude.
Right. Let's look at. Here is something which I like to call spirit taking flight. This was actually captured on the stairs using our night vision cameras, and we could talk about this after it's finished. Once it's done. Okay, just hold on a second. We'll turn up the volume here. If you could see here, there's a spirit that goes from the bottom screen up to the right-hand side.
What? Oh,
See that?
no. Come on. You know how much debris, air, particles are there in the room. I have better evidence.
I remember seeing.
I have better evidence than this.
Some of them, and I nicknamed this the grass.
You know what? If I show it, people are just gonna say, "Oh, it's the lighting. It's a shadow." It's like, oh, you edited it.
And it is really 100% some of the best paranormal evidence you'll probably ever see.
Just trying to see the kind of people out there defending this paranormal
This thing
world,
looks like wings.
the unseen world.
It looks like it's flying. I don't know what it is.
I know a creature that would do that.
It is really, look, it's the same, almost the same size as I am. And it's going to the top right of the screen. We've been questioned on this. We've sent this video out. There's been no, this hasn't been in any way tampered with. And it's basically almost the same size as I am. It's leaving a spectral trail, which means it's not leaving a spectral trail. On this particular
It could have easily been a fly. I have captured these kind of things on camera. It was always a fly.
On video.
Well, can I ask,
They
have you
don't.
presented this to scientists? Have you gotten any type of peer review?
We've sent this to 2 colleges, Tampa University. Actually, we sent this to Tampa University because it was Folk Theater where we did Tampa University.
Tampa.
But we have not. This has not been sent over to scientists as far as for preliminary, investigations to be picked through on this particular set of video. We are trying to get it. I mean, no one has ever questioned it. They said it hasn't been tampered with, but it hasn't been sent over to a scientist where they could say, okay, well, this is exactly what this is. I had 20 people view this. They have no idea what it is. I had video experts look at this. They know it hasn't been tampered with. But this is one of the best paranormal images of a spirit going through the screen that you could pop, or whatever you want, anomaly going through the screen that actually has wings and looks like it has a body shape that is flying. That I mean, if I would have seen this, I would have jumped back. That you could probably ever witness as far as paranormal is concerned. Let me show you another video that was just absolutely stunning. That I like to call the imp.
Oh no, there's lag again.
At a different location. Okay, this is called the imp because I believe it is an imp. You'll see how it transforms and then disappears right into the wall. Imps are malicious spirits that are just, like to cause problems and trouble. Let's look at this now. You could see the energy, and this does have a spectral trail. Like there's different types of energy, there's different types of spirits.
I'm just gonna pick somebody to follow along.
Jumps from the counter, jumps to the wall, and then disappears. Then it disappears into the wall. It is just unbelievable.
And by an imp, you mean a demon, or a category of demon.
By an imp, I do mean an intelligent spirit that causes. Right. An imp would be a kind of demon. That is correct. The reason why I classify it that way is if you look at the motion of it, and we go through the evidence of what we captured at this location and what's been going on at this residence, it is the telltale signs of an imp.
Could I ask what happened
at the location
with the thing like scratches? Were you able to take any of the actual
video? Yes.
Video, and so my question would be, do you have video of that? And then another question on just these 2 videos would be, because I really wanted to ask this about paranormal and ghosts in general. And it's a very important notion as a skeptic. What would it take to convince you that you were wrong?
Well, being there and actually witnessing it with my own eyes, it's really hard for you to say, well, you're wrong, because I'm not someone who is actually trying to interpret what I've seen. I've been there. So instead of me just taking this video and showing to a skeptic and say, hey, look what I found on the internet, I was actually there. I was actually there when it was filmed. My crew were there. I mean, there's like 6 other people behind me in that video that said we didn't see anything when there was no bug. In this video, we had a static camera that just picked us up by chance. We scanned the room. We make sure there's no bugs in the room. We make sure everything is actually unplugged. There's no lights that are coming in. All the windows are barred. I mean, we make sure that we control the entire environment. There's nothing left unchecked. Beepers, microphones, cell phones, lights. The microwave was unplugged. The lights were literally shut off.
So if I can interrupt you, in fairness, what it sounds like you're saying is that you are a high degree level of confident that it is real, which I believe.
I'm saying it is real because I've actually witnessed it and seen it with my own eyes.
And so then my question goes back.
Just because I've seen it with my own eyes, it's still unexplained. It's still unexplained.
I can agree with you there. I really do think there's a lot of phenomena that we truly don't have an explanation for, and I just don't want to label, as I squeak, information that we don't know as something. So I guess, is there a test? I go back to that same question. Is there a way, even with your high level of confidence, knowing that you're saying you took all your precautions, how do you remove the bias of your own team? How do you test it? How do you make sure?
Well, there's no bias because it happened in real time. Like if you see somebody get hit by a car and a police is like, hey, excuse me, I know you witnessed this person get hit by a car. Can you tell me what happened? If you go to a third party, they'll be like, well, I don't know what happened. I know he got hit by a car. I came there. The guy's bleeding. That's how I know he got hit by a car. But if you're actually there witnessing it and the cop's like, what have you seen in first person? There is no bias. There is no, I told him and she told him. When you're standing there and the spirit is looking at you straight in the face, how do you say, well, that's not real? And you say, well, maybe you had drugs, maybe you're dizzy, maybe you're affected by the environment. But when 6 other people do the same thing, who've actually witnessed what you've seen, how do you explain that? Is everybody on drugs? Is everyone having a problem? Is everybody, having emotional problems? No.
Not that not that 6 people are having emotional problems, but say, for example, there is a gas leak that is undetectable, that nobody with their regular senses can detect. Well, then the entire room is going to experience that phenomena, and it's going to seem as real for you, me, anyone in there as anything else. So what happened when you went to the hospital and I think you're muted. What happened when you went to the hospital and you had scratches? Your whole team knew what it was. What did the doctors say? What was their conclusion? What did they have to write down on the paper for the reason for the scratches?
Well, when we brought him to the hospital, we do not go and elaborate to the doctors how it actually happened. We say he was working on set and he got scratched. We don't say, by the way, doc, this guy was scratched up by a ghost. They'd throw you out of the hospital. So we said we brought him to the hospital to make sure he was all right, that the lacerations were actually taken care of, and the bleeding stopped. It is one thing to, if a police officer came and said, this is absolutely extreme, what happened here? We'd have to tell him we were filming on location. He was getting scratched by something we couldn't see, and call it a day. It is just, how do you explain that? How do you say, it's hard to explain. How do you say he was attacked by a ghost? Or how do you say somebody's possessed? There's no way.
Do you believe in possession? That's another thing.
Of course, definitely. I've seen it happen. Yeah, I've seen it happen. I've seen people being possessed. I've seen people in my own team go into a stare. I've seen my own people go into a stare. I personally have experienced and seen time frames in history that I couldn't explain. And when I was woken up, I actually saw the room that I was in. They basically shook me back to where I was in reality, because I've actually been in places where I've actually seen the past due to the energies that were there, and literally had to clear my head to and actually seen what has happened in that particular room. It does happen. The energies are so strong in certain locations where it actually does bring you back to that environment where you actually could see it play out in real time. And there's been really documentation of that happening too. There's one more video I wanted to show you guys. I don't know if I'm still sharing my screen or not, but I wanted to.
Go ahead, pop it back into screen share. I want to
show you a spirit rising from the stage. That's really, really interesting. And let me go and pull this up really quick. You guys are here. Let me expand this. Share screen again, and let's share that again. Okay. Here is. So you asked me, why does your equipment capture things that other equipment doesn't capture? And here's the perfect example of that. We use 360-degree cameras. They detect motion. They detect sound. If you look at this image here, you can literally see there's like 12 people in front of the camera. There is no reason in the world why this camera is going to do what I'm about to show you. This camera, I am talking, I'm with my team, I'm with my cameraman, we're identifying all the equipment. Our equipment is so sensitive, it actually captured this. I'm still, even with my own equipment, I don't believe how this happened. So let me show you what happened. Now keep in mind, if there's motion or if there's sound, this camera is supposed to be focused on motion and sound. Let's look what happened here. Let's play. Let's replay it again. I don't know if you guys seen that. You can literally see a spirit rise from this chair and go up through the air. Right here. See that?
I want to see that,
you can say, well, that's wind. But how did this 360-degree camera know to capture this image? And it's actually better if you can keep it smaller because you can see it much clearly. How did this camera know to turn all the way around by itself and capture this image of something rising from the middle of the stage going up into the ceiling? So you're saying, well, what makes your equipment so special? This is what makes our equipment so special. It is so sensitive. It actually captures the spirit going from the bottom of the floor up into the atmosphere. It's not wind. It's not air. It actually turned 165 degrees around in a circle to capture something that it felt was moving behind us, even though we have 6 people up front on the stage. And you can hear me speaking as well. So this is absolutely another paramount video of evidence, watching this spirit literally come up from the stage. No one could see it. No one heard it. But the camera detected it, turned all the way around, and filmed this, even though there's maybe 12 people up front. That's how I know we calibrate our equipment for the environment.
Is it possible?
And that's how we get evidence that nobody else can see.
The audience is intrigued just to see, because I don't know if it's the same way for them as for me. This one's harder to see. If you click the gear button on the bottom of the YouTube page there, if you're able to slow the video down, so the kind of like bottom center of where the video is playing, you'll see that like gear icon where you can probably choose to put the speed at maybe like 0.25 or 0.05.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it really slower because it's by chance we would just happen to receive this information. Let me slow it down really quick. You'll see it right here.
Also, can I ask, in street magic, oftentimes what you'll do to an audience is you'll say, this is a perfectly normal deck, and then you go on to do your trick, and it's not a perfectly normal deck. So when you automatically exclude things like the wind and stuff, when you say, it can't be wind, it can't be this, it can't be that, how do you know that it couldn't have been any sort of weather or regular biological event like a bug?
Let's
how
look
do you
at it.
rule that out?
Let's look at it. Let's look at it in real time. You'll see the spirit rise from the bottom and go straight up. Air doesn't do that. Air wouldn't be white. You wouldn't see white air. If you saw white air, this would all be, the whole screen would be right. In fact, you wouldn't even be able to see the people. This would all be white. This is the camera reacting to motion that through infrared we can't see, but it can see. So you asked me, listen, how do you see spirits? How do you see ghosts? How do you calibrate your equipment properly? Here's the evidence. This is how we do it. This is why we use the equipment and the cameras that we use, because it can see stuff we can't see.
I think
all the electricity in the theater is off. There is no air conditioning blowing. There is no vents underneath the stage. There is nothing here. This is a wood floor. This is like a 150-year-old theater. There's no air blowing through here. You could see these are drapes that would be blowing. When we go into an environment, we make sure everything is locked down. We don't leave the environment open to questions or to doubts or to anything else that cannot be controlled. We control the environment. We shut the electricity off, shut the air conditioning off. We tape things down. Everything that has electricity is removed. And you'll also notice on this image, you really can't see it, but there's a light. One of our light screens right here, this beeper right here, it's lighting up. This one is not lit, but this one is totally lit. You can see the difference. This is totally lighting up at the time the camera turns around and the spirit comes up, or the entity comes up from the stage. So if we go back here to see it again, we're going slow. It's totally lit up. This one's not. This one's totally lit up, and then you see the spirit or the entity come up from the center of the stage and go up.
I see. So I think one thing for the audience, I think what I'm seeing what you're talking about, and in case the audience, if you're watching the live chat, there is at the very bottom of the screen, it's after the camera does its 180 or so, you can see at the very bottom of the screen, like literally at the bottom there of the video feed, it looks like there's something coming from the stage, which is, it's like a really small proportion of the screen, but I see that there's what you're referring to.
Right. So what do we do that's different?
Stop dying, bro.
We try to control the environment the best way we can and calibrate the equipment to the environment that we're in. We don't have writers. I mean, we present the evidence that we receive and that we get in real time to our audiences, and this was actually streamed live. Okay? This was unbelievable when this happened, because these cameras are autonomous. No one's there to turn it. It's on its own. As you see, there's 6 people in front on the stage. Everyone's talking. This camera should have been here and not ever moved.
So can I ask, are there sources that you reject? So like you record something and you go like, damn, it was a bug. Oh my, that was wind in the light. And you're like,
yes, that happens constantly. But
how do you tell the difference?
You can know a bug is a bug. You know when dust is dust. And it's very easy to figure out. Let me show you an example. Watch.
Okay.
I'm going to show you some orbs that we captured, and I'm going to show you the difference between an orb and what dust is. And then you'll be like, okay, I understand. So this way, when I go look at something in the future, I know what dust is, and I know what an orb is. I know what a bug is. So this is Spirits Rising. This is Spirit Flight. Let's go to Light Anomalies 2. Let's go to Light Anomalies here. Let me see if this is what I'm looking for. I'm going to show you the difference between dust and an orb. Okay, beautiful. Watch this. Watch this video. Okay, and once again, the camera turned all the way to the right and followed the orb. So let's play this again. This is an orb going across the screen. That's an orb. It has a spectral trail. That's dust. That's dust. That's an orb. It's the size of a baseball, and it's streaming across the screen. That was an orb because it has a spectral trail. And I'm going to slow this down so you guys can see it.
And then,
slow it down to 0.25.
after you play it again, can you explain what you think the orb is? What is an orb to you?
An orb, to me, is many different definitions of what an orb is. But to me, it's a spirit entity that literally travels.
Victory, oh yeah.
To me, it's an entity of a spirit. It doesn't have the energy capacity. Like you said, there's different types of energies. It doesn't have the capacity to fully form itself or to appear as an apparition, but is still an entity that lives in that location that has an effect on the environment. So once again, there's an orb that has a spectral trail. The cameras didn't follow it. Then you see over here, You see dust. That's dust. It doesn't have a spectral trail. That's dust. That is a full-blown orb going across the screen that this infrared camera totally followed. Okay? Once again, there's a gentleman here moving around. Okay? It won't detect him. It should have detected him, but instead, it detected the orb that no one else could see. And he doesn't even go, oh my God, look, there's an orb going across the stage, because he can't see it. That was an orb. That's dust is going to come over here. You'll see it. That's dust. That's the dust. That is a full-blown orb racing across the screen. It doesn't go up and down. It's not going like it's not floating. So, oh my God, it's floating. It's the size of a baseball, and it's literally flying across the screen, and the infrared camera caught it as it was going across the screen, just like it saw the spirit. So let's watch it again in slow motion.
And so what happens when you take something...
One second, that's an orb. That's dust. That's dust. That is a full-blown orb going across the screen. It has a sense of direction, it has speed, and it stays on one level. Dust doesn't do that. Dust goes all floats, goes all over the place.
And orbs don't float.
Orbs do float, but this one moved with a sense of purpose and a sense of direction.
That's also another good question, is sense of purpose and meaning. Do you separate seems like a lot of ghosts, at least in Western tradition, elsewhere, it's always tied to tragic events, sorrow, things that we've been talking about, high emotional things.
Well, it doesn't have to be that way. Because once again, I said energy you can never destroy energy. So just because, someone doesn't have to be murdered or raped to be turned into an intelligent spirit.
How's it happen?
Something doesn't like we've investigated a church where there was a priest that was there who just wanted to watch over the church and was protecting the church. There's also a theory that the first person who was buried in a cemetery on sacred ground, like blessed by a priest, the first person that's buried in the cemetery becomes the watcher of the cemetery for all eternity, watches the souls that are buried there. So not everyone who dies turns into a ghost. Not everything that people that have tragic experiences turn into a ghost or turns into a residual spirit or an intelligent spirit. There are extenuating circumstances through grief or through fear or through a million different other emotions that those spirits linger behind.
But there's I guess what I'm saying is there's no methodology to create a ghost, though.
No, there's no recipe that says if you add 2 eggs, you add baking soda, you add salt and pepper, you're going to get a ghost. There's no recipe. It depends on that individual. Just like everybody has individual personalities, everybody's personality is different. There are billion different ways an entity can hang around in the location.
So just to go back to my example, it could be that someone dies from happiness, and this emotional happiness is so strong that they are just overwhelmed and stuck. Because it's almost always sad ghosts, and I guess I'm just trying to say, is it any emotion?
It's not always sad. The thing is, even with people that don't know how to cross over into the light, they hang around because they don't know. Some people die some people die in ways. Some people die and don't realize they're dead. And this has happened in many, many different occasions where someone dies.
Oh, sure. Give spoilers to movies.
Yeah, some person dies, they don't know, but this is true. I've been on investigations where this has happened. Some person dies, they don't realize they're dead, and people have to tell them that they have died and it's okay to move on. Some people love their families and they don't want to move on because they want to stay with their family. And they have to say, listen, we're all right. Let them know that you guys are going to be okay. Let them know your grandchildren are going to be fine. Your daughter's going to be fine. Everyone's going to be fine.
Can I freeze that for 1 second?
1 second. You give them permission to move on, and then they move on their own. I mean, you're right. Through love, through happiness, through anger, through fear, through regret. There are millions of reasons why people can't move on and become an entity or a spirit.
Have you done that? Have you actually went to a place, you've communicated with a spirit, they were like, oh my God, I got stabbed and it was really sad. and you're able to.
They don't say, "Hey, by the way, I was stabbed." You know what happened to them because you do the historical history on that location.
Well, I guess my real question is, have you been able to make a spirit leave? They were there, and then they've left, and how do you do that and prove that?
Well, here's the deal. There are things called portals. Portals can be like when you use energy, when someone uses a Ouija board, they don't know how to use it. They create energy that comes through a
way
that can create portals. These portals allow evil things to come through. Sometimes these portals can allow good things to come through. But 99.9% of the time, there's evil things that come through because people open up portals through malicious ways, whether it be the occult or whether it be through a Ouija board they don't know how to use, or whether they just have no idea what they're messing with, and that's how sometimes people get possessed. So when we go on these life investigations, we look at all the evidence, we look at the history, we look at the people, we look at the house, we look at the nature of the events that are surrounding them, we look at the exterior and exterior of the residence, we look at the environment. Is it stone? Is there a river that's actually passing through the house, which would give more energy to this entity? Is there stone or limestone that actually absorbs energy? Limestone is the unbelievable absorber of energy. Stone, an unbelievable absorber of the environment and energy. So we make sure is there any electrical wires running through? Any wires that don't belong there? Just currents that, like in the house, like wires that are just on that don't need to be on. I mean, there's so many different factors that we go through in an investigation to rule out anomalies. That it's just an anomaly. Or is it ions? Are ions somehow, are electrical ions in the air, in the atmosphere, that's giving this entity more power than it needs to have? Your microwave. Like I said, electrical wires, the environment, the phases of the moon, apogee, perigee, ley lines, the magnetic lines that surround the Earth. The magnetic lines can actually feed at a location with massive amounts of energy. So you see at some of these Indian burial sites and these Indian sites like around the world, and Aztec sites, where the people are like, oh my God, there's so much energy here, there's massive amounts of energy. Egypt, the pyramids literally run along ley lines that give it its energy, that these people knew exactly what they were doing. How did people 3,000 years ago know that build the pyramids on ley lines that actually encompass the Earth's magnetism on lines that literally run through the pyramids of Egypt, the stones, I keep on forgetting their name, but the stones in England, the stones of England, Stonehenge, and then millions of other things where they say, well, we see UFOs, we see anomalies, we see orbs rising from the ground. There are millions of ley lines that circle the globe and circle locations. You'll find that the most haunted locations on Earth, even Indian burial grounds, are all on ley lines. How do they know that there is something special there? You know what I'm saying? Because let's say there's orbs that happen, or there's mystical things that happen. Like, oh, this rock is mystical. It's magical. It's because of the ley lines. And people 2,000 years ago, they made maps of astrology. They made maps of they knew where their ancestors built graves and where they built their sacrificial places. And it just so happens to be that they are energized through ley lines. Just like when you're walking down the street. You walk down the street a million times before, but then tonight you're walking down the street and you're like, there's something wrong. I feel something's wrong. Something's looking at me. There's an energy there. What's going on? I don't feel comfortable. There's something wrong here. Well, you go to, there's something wrong. I don't feel comfortable at this location. It's the energy that you're detecting through your sixth sense that's telling you there's an energy source here and I don't know what it is. And that energy source gives power to these entities or gives more power to these energies that feed off of it. So your emotions when you're angry.
That's a great segue.
Yeah, when your emotions or when you're angry or when you're upset, alive, these spirits literally can feed off that energy. When you're scared, when you run, that's what I tell my team, don't run. Don't get scared. Why? Because you're releasing energy into the environment that they could use against you, which makes them stronger. It's just that's the way it happens.
I have two questions for that. That segues nicely. My first question would be, how do you measure this energy that you're trying to detect? And then can you elaborate on what you mean by portals?
Yes. Okay. So everyone here knows what a EMF meter is, right? An EMF meter detects electromagnetic energy. So there's radio waves, there's electromagnetic waves, and there are radio waves, electromagnetic waves, and EMF detection, EMF waves, electromagnetic waves. So you can detect this type of energy through an EMF detector. So if you take an EMF detector and you bring it up to a light switch, or you bring it up to a microwave and it's on, it'll detect the electrical current and the energy surrounding that particular area. Whether it's even with you ever use a gaugometer for radiation, it's the same exact way. So it detects radiation, not the EMF detector. But if you have a machine that detects radiation, it's the same exact way. The meter will detect where there's strong powers and levels of radiation. You can't see the radiation, but the machine can detect it and tell you, hey, there's an energy here. So when you see these shows on television using an EMF detector, they're trying to test for electromagnetic energies that would not be there. There's no way in the world you're going to have a teddy bear sitting on a shelf that's going to have electromagnetic energy. Why? Because there's no electricity that's running through it. Now, if you take that EMF detector and you hold it to that teddy bear and you're getting a 1.2 or a 2.3, there's something wrong here. That's how you know there's an entity or an energy that exists in that specific item. Whether it be a rock, whether it be a teddy bear, whether it be a chair, whether it be a room, whether it be a spirit walking through, you can literally see on the EMF meter how much energy is and what direction it's coming from with the meters that we have. We use unbelievable technology. So I can determine where that energy is coming from left, right, or sideways, left, right, left, front, or left, right, or in front of me, where that electromagnetism is coming from. So if I take my EMF meter and I put it on a chair, and I say, Mary, I know you're with us tonight. Could you please light up the meter? Okay, great. And the meter lights up. That is an intelligent spirit activating that meter with the energy they have, all the energy they do have, to activate that meter in a chair that should not have absolutely no energy, surrounding an air that should not have no electromagnetic energy. So the way you quantify your investigation is by making sure you kill all electricity in the house. You look for where those environmental factors are, like the stone, the water, the chemicals, the gases, the paint, wherever it might be. You get it out of your location. So what we do, we cleanse the location. We cleanse the area, so this way there's no anomalies that can affect our real life investigation. And that's how you know you have something. That's the best way to detect it. There could be lines in the wall that aren't shut off. You never know. There could be, like the fire lines or the pull here for emergency. Those lines can never shut off, so it can throw off your investigation. But very, very rarely will you walk into a room, take the EMF meter, walk around, have nothing all night, then go into a room and it goes 4.5, 3.2. It's like unbelievable. I mean, that's a massive amount of energy. And normal power outlets and lines won't have that type of energy. You'll put it to a microwave, be like, all right, 2.1, 2.1, whatever it is. But when you're walking around an empty room and all the electricity is off, there's no way that there's going to be that type of energy in that room.
I just have to follow that up before we go into portals. How do you know that the energy that you are detecting is from a non-normal energy source? How do you know that it is just not an energy spike from something that you are not detecting?
By just doing what I just told you, by controlling the environment. So what we do is we look out the outside and make sure if there's no natural entities there, we make sure there's no ley lines there. We're not on a ley line. We make sure that, where if there's a graveyard nearby, or if there's a water source running underneath the house, or what type of material the house is made of, what century the house was made in or built in. There's so many things that we take into account to make sure we're getting pure unadulterated, untainted evidence. And when I speak to somebody, I say, listen, can you make this light turn green? Can you make this light turn blue? Can you, touch this thing and make it go off? And then it happens. And then it stops. And you say, can you do it again? And then it happens. And then it stops. That's how you know you have an entity in the room. Because electrical source will remain active. It won't shut off. It won't go back on. I mean, unless somebody's clicking on a switch and shutting it off, which they're not doing. So that's how you know you have something that cannot be explained. I don't know what type of
thing. I couldn't help myself. I have a follow-up to my follow-up. Is there a reason, do you think, why when you present this type of evidence, it is rejected by the scientific community? As in, why
all my evidence that I've ever received has never been rejected by the scientific community.
Nothing.
I've never had somebody look at our evidence and say, Dominic, this is garbage. Sometime we did have one thing that we thought was something, but it wasn't. It was just an anomaly that has happened with one of our pieces of equipment. But I've never had a scientist say, that the evidence that we select, we're pretty much good at detecting and knowing what we're presenting, because that is our credibility. The only thing that I cherish as a life investigator is our credibility. I'm going to show you something and present something to you that cannot be explained. I need you to do your homework, and that's where I challenge people and welcome people to say, Dominic, what you just saw was a bug. What you just saw was dust. But we're so fine in our craft, and we're experts. We're not these people on TV. I've been doing this. I mean, the only people that I know have been doing this longer than me are the Warrens. Okay, I've been going. I would live throughout Europe. I went to the most haunted castles. I've been through the catacombs of Rome. I've been underneath to the tunnels in France. I've been through all that. I've seen stuff. I wish I had a camera crew follow me around. But back in the 1990s, it wasn't commonplace to bring a camera with you when you went to these paranormal investigations. And plus, I was by myself. So, I mean, I have crazy pictures that I've been trying to pull up tonight. I couldn't really get because my computer's having a problem. But it's unbelievable evidence. It's unbelievable documentation. I would never put something on to present something if I thought it was a fraction of not being what I thought it was.
But then that leaves open at least the notion that you believe this is science, and that this could be even taught in high schools one day. That's why, when I get asked notions of supernatural, paranormal, all of these type of concepts, I always like to ask, is it your goal then to get this stuff in science textbooks? Because this is just as good as the medical, it's just as good as the cancer science that we know right now.
It should be taught, and indirectly it is being taught in high schools already, because people are learning about electromagnetism and how the universe works, and they are learning about black matter, and they are now more than ever looking into things that we couldn't understand just even a decade ago, because we have the equipment and the technology that shows us and that opens up our eyes to another world that we never knew existed. Just like a long time ago, back in the 1910, you couldn't tell if somebody was lying to you. Now you have lie detectors that could tell you like 95.9% of the chance if somebody was lying to you. You couldn't tell if this guy raped a girl. You would never be able to tell back then. But now you have DNA evidence, machines that could tell you, hey, this is the DNA from this person. Well, just like fossils and radioactive measurements when they do the what do you call that? When they do the carbon dating. You never knew how old the Earth was, but now we have machines that say, listen, from the radioactivity since the beginning and creation of the world, this fossil is 300 million years old. This tooth from the sky is 200,000 years old. And they could get it within the year because of the carbon, the radioactivity in the atoms that if I would have said this to you 40 years ago, you'd think like we're watching a Star Trek show. But through technology now has the opportunity to open up our eyes to things that we couldn't see before. So that's why I say through our life investigations, We literally find those things shining in the darkness. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm not going to tell you what you just saw. I want you to tell me what you just saw through your own interpretation, and then I want you to prove me wrong. And so far, that has never happened yet. With the evidence that we have,
speaking of that,
I can't tell you
of opening our eyes.
I could just show you. I could just
what
show you.
Exactly is a portal?
Okay, a portal once again is an open doorway into things that we truly don't understand. There are many types of portals. I don't believe there's just one portal. I don't believe if you use a Ouija board and then something evil comes through, that's a portal. It's very, very hard, but it's very, very possible to detect and see where portals are. I've only seen a portal in my investigations once, where I literally saw it looked like a black hole. It looked like a black hole, and I saw it as clear as day as I'm seeing you guys now. It looked like a black hole. It was swirling in this location, and I've literally seen orbs come in and out of it. I've only seen that once in my entire life, and I've been doing this for a really long time, for decades. I've only seen it once. That's how I know.
And so you could see through it, though. You saw another.
You could see right through it. It was totally transparent.
Oh, yeah.
You ever blow out smoke through a cigarette? Imagine that smoke with an electrical wheel around it, like a bluish electrical wheel, just spinning that smoke, but it's totally transparent, and I saw things go back and forth through it. You could literally see in and out, in and out. So some portals people say around, some are triangle, some people say
that's how a spirit
dimensions. Right, that's how spirits come through into our world. Just like, here's another example. When you have children that look at, when you show them pictures of their grandparents, say, that's grandpapa. Like, how did this kid know that's 5 years old who that person is? They never even see the person before and say, well, I was talking to him last night. That's grandpapa. Because family members do check up on, their loved ones. I know that. I know this happens. Like when little babies, like, they point, like, papa, like, where this 3-year-old kid learn to say papa, and why is she pointing to our grandfather saying papa? Because she's seen him. The child was literally visited by your grandparents, and there are spirits that protect you. Just like there's guardian angels, just like there's angels, there's evil and there's good. You have angels, you have guardian angels, and you have demons, and you have whatever else you want to say that's out there.
Which was another question for you, when you break up spirits, or when I say the word ghost, how many ways do you break that up? Do you not even like that word? Do you? It seems like you do believe in some form of demons. Do you separate a good spirit from a demon? Or
it's hard for me to explain this, but I've seen demons before. I've seen demons materialize. I've seen angels. I know what an angel looks like. I had many religious experiences as a child. I've literally seen them. And just in their presence, it's a type of love and a type of protection that if you ever experienced before, it never leaves you. Just like I've been in presence of demons before. I know they're malicious. I know they're real. I know they've been there since the creation of the world. I know God exists because I've seen his creations that exist. It's just, when you've been doing this as long as I have, it just becomes, it's just second nature. I learned to see things. I mean, it's hard, but my eyes have adjusted to see things that normal people don't see or can't look out for. And what happens is, when you go and turn, that brief 3 seconds that it allows you to see it using all of its energy, and you literally see it, that's when I say you've been baptized into the paranormal, because you will never be the same again.
If I must confirm, or if I may confirm, you do believe you have a sixth sense.
I'm an empath. I've known that in my entire life. An empath is someone who could actually see different times in history, who could see spirits, who could feel things that normal people can't feel, and who could detect things that people really can't feel because they're not in tune with it.
We've got to
jump. I don't believe that you can learn it. I believe you have to be born with it. I don't believe you could learned to be an empath. It's impossible. Like, you can't.
We've got to
Right.
Move into questions.
We've got to jump
into
Q&A shortly. Go ahead if you have one more question.
There's no way you could be Superman just by lifting weights. It's never going to happen. You're either born Superman or you're not. That's the only way I can explain it.
And so my last question for tonight and I enjoyed it. I'd be willing to have many more debates with you, Dominic. It's been a pleasure so far.
Okay.
I would like to know what a Ouija board is to you, and if you think, if they're useful, how useful. What's a Ouija board to you?
I think Ouija board is a tool of evil. I think they shouldn't be used.
Yes.
I think that no one should use them on any investigation. I think a Ouija board is a way to open up energies that you should never open up in your entire life. I've seen Ouija boards destroy families. I've seen Ouija boards have people possessed. I think they're a tool that knowledge was given to them by evil to give them a portal to open things they shouldn't open into. I've seen people pass out by using them. I've seen tables be thrown against the wall by people using them. I can't explain to you how evil Ouija boards are. And the term paranormal gets a bad rap. Let me tell you why. Because when people say paranormal, they think of the cult, they think of witches, they think of satanic sacrifices. Paranormal is just dealing with energies that people don't fully understand yet and it can't be explained. So I don't like when people say the word paranormal, like, my God, that's paranormal, that's the occult. There's many different definitions to identify things. But paranormal has been getting a bad rap by the church, by everybody. It's just energy that just things that people can't see. Like, where did the fishes and the loaves come from? That was a miracle of Christ. I totally believe in Christ. I know because I've seen angels. I know Christ exists. I had many experiences in my entire life. I know there's a heaven. I know there's a hell. I know there's a purgatory. But that is a miracle. So if you see an angel in your room, is that a miracle or is that a paranormal experience?
We do have to go into the Q&A soon, given that I think it was originally the question was about Ouija boards. But
sorry, guys.
No problem. Do want to jump into it. Want to say a couple of things, folks. First, our guests are linked in the description. So if you want to hear more or see more from our guests, you can click on those links in the description right now. And that includes if you're listening via podcast, as Modern Day Debate has a podcast. We put all of our debates onto the podcast within 24 hours of the debates happening live. And we put our guest links in the description there as well. Also, last thing, very excited to let you know that tonight 100% of the super chats that come in are going to worldwide.
Timing, bro. Timing.
From the Charity Watchdog, Charity Navigator. And so we're excited and want to remind you folks, there are some things that we agree on, no matter what walk of life we are from, whether you be Christian, atheist, whether you believe in ghosts or, I should say, spirits, or not. We all agree on making the world a better place, and so thanks so much for your support tonight. For those of you who have put already into the Q&A support for that cause. And so this first one, by the way, we always put the receipt on our social tab in YouTube in case you wanted to see the donation receipt. And so Surgeon General, thanks so much for your first comment. Says, thanks for providing these great debates. Thanks for your support, Surgeon General. Seriously, it means a lot. And Alan Dupree says, Dominic, why do paranormal investigators use a small portable microphone for EVP sessions? Why can't we hear it on the camera's microphone as well?
Okay. All right. Let me explain that. And that's a great question. Just like there's a spectrum of light that you can and cannot see, like a dog whistle. If I take a dog whistle and I blow it as hard as I can, you will never hear it. There are different frequencies that we can hear and that we can't hear. And when a spirit speaks, it's on another frequency that we can't hear. But the microphones are so sensitive because they have a larger spectrum of, let's say, hearing or recording, that we can pick that up. Just like what I just showed you on the spirits we've captured through our cameras. We can't see what the cameras can see because it's on a different spectrum. Just like it's the same thing with hearing. Take that dog whistle, dog freaks out. You're like, why is he freaking out? I can't hear. What is he hearing? Everything has different. The universe there's tons of energy, and everything vibrates at a different level of energy in the universe, and sometimes there's different levels of hearing and seeing that's on a different spectrum than us.
You got it, and this one coming in from Zagros Ozcan. Thanks so much. Says, Dominic, video of your buddy, let's see, being fine one moment and then profusely bleeding right after it, or it didn't happen. They're asking for video of the footage that you said of your friend who
got that video footage. It happened, like I said, it happened not too long ago. That hasn't been posted on the site yet. I was looking on it. It is on our website. For some reason, I cannot find it just yet. I have been looking for it. I could either send it to you guys later on, but it is on our website. I was trying to find the pictures in the video, but I know the video is there. We've been working on it because that's our last investigation we did. That hasn't been uploaded yet, but we do have the pictures, and I will try to get them to you when I can.
Gotcha. And this one coming in from, do appreciate your question, Bubblegum Gun, says, Amy, if you want the fact proven, you have to do the experiment yourself. Go ahead and test it. I dare you to take whiz on the grave. I don't know what that means. But Zagros Azcan also says, Dominic sees, let's see. They said, does Dominic watch the show Supernatural? Is that a show? I'm behind on shows.
Supernatural is a show on TV. I don't watch TV. I have enough things that I'm trying to see and when producing. I really don't watch Supernatural. I know it's a show on television. I know there's actors and stuff. Some of my favorite movies are Lord of the Rings and stuff like that, just because I love that type of thing. But I don't watch the paranormal shows that are out there because, quite frankly, I just, you got it. I think that's entertainment, and what we do is not entertainment.
Gotcha. And
I want to go on record saying the Winchester brothers, the two main characters of the show, are really hot. So, all right, we can continue.
I don't know who the Winchester brothers are.
This one coming in
and
from...
they hunt ghosts and other supernatural events.
This one coming in from Discovering Ancient History says, donating to a great charity. I just wanted to give a shout out to Amy, her channel, and one of the awesome shows, Talk Skeptic, to me. And reminder, both of our guests, Dominic and Amy, are linked in the description. Alan Dupree says, Dominic, what sort of evidence do you think it would take to prove the existence of ghosts?
That's a great question. I think we've been working on that, and there are a lot of other people who've been working on that. I hope some of the evidence we share with you tonight prove the evidence that we do have. I mean, you could literally go to our website or go to Universal Paranormal on YouTube. We posted all of our major evidence that we've collected. We're getting more in every day. We do investigations constantly. We do have some unbelievable pictures that we have that I would that you could go to the website and check out and see. But I mean, with all the evidence and even with the shows that you watch on TV, we know there's something there. We know ghosts exist. I mean, we've known ghosts exist since the Egyptian times. Even before that, Native American Indians know that ghosts exist. The Bible, you want to go back 5,000 years, the New Testament, the Old Testament, we know that angels exist. We know that, the archangels exist. We know that there was a huge battle in heaven. There are demons, there are angels.
I mean, just to go to the, let's see, what was the original question? Sorry, but just to keep us on track. The
original question was, what was it going to take to prove that ghosts exist?
Okay, just because we have so many questions, it's important now, if just to be short and pithy, the original question, what sort of evidence do you think it would take to prove the existence of ghosts?
I think we proved that. I think throughout the ages and with the evidence that we prove now clearly shows that there are things out there. There are ghosts out there.
Gotcha. Thank you very much. Snake was right, says Dominic. We got that one. Zagros Ozcan says, Dominic, please specify which wavelength ranges specifically are you looking at for various phantasms? Be specific. For example, to see a ghost, do you need 700 nanometer or 300 nanometer or 1 millimeter for ghouls?
I don't know the exact numbers on that. I'd have to check my equipment. I don't have that actually with me right now. It's just we make sure that the equipment that we have has the full spectrum of everything that we need in order to find out what it is. I don't know the exact numbers offhand. We let our equipment do the work for us. But even with old Polaroids, you could capture images of spirits. So it depends on what type of equipment you have and how lucky you are. You could have the best equipment, the full spectrum on everything, and not capture anything. I mean, it's really the luck of the draw to capture stuff. It's really hard. I mean, when people do investigations, it usually takes about 6 hours of investigations to get 5 minutes of good evidence.
You got it. And Zagros Ozcan says, energy is the ability to do work, if we want to define it. And says, Dominic, do you agree with this definition?
I think that's a real layman's way of explaining energy, as far as work is concerned. I think, once again, energy, we're still learning about what energy is and how it transforms into different things. We are constantly surrounded by energy. We're made of energy. So I think we have a lot more discovery that needs to be done on exactly what energy is in relation to ourselves and the universe.
Gotcha. I think that's I'm no expert in physics, but to be fair to Zagros, I think that's kind of like the standard. I don't know if it's as much of a layman as maybe the layman knows a lot about physics. I think it's like kind of the standard definition from physics, but I think you're saying it's nonetheless not able to capture the kind of breadth of what potentially could.
You're exactly right, James. There's no way we could understand the energies that are currently surrounding us. Science is still trying to explain, dark matter and everything else. So I think there's a ton more energy than what we currently understand. I mean, we've only been on how long have humans been here for? Like 250 million years, probably. I mean, we're just learning now. The Industrial Revolution was 60 or 70 years ago. I mean, we're still learning about ourselves in the universe. It's going to be a long time before we have the technology to figure out all the types of energy that are out there.
Zagros' response says there's no such thing as a full spectrum camera. I don't remember.
There are full spectrum cameras, yes there are.
VMX says, thanks to the speakers, thanks to James for moderating and hosting. Glad today goes to a good cause. And what does an EMF detector detect?
It detects the amount of energy in an area, whether it be radio waves, electromagnetism, or even like with Geiger meters. Some Geiger meters can detect radiation. So it detects the amount of electromagnetic energy in the area.
You got it. And this one from Joel Schwartz says, for both, what is your scariest encounter with a ghost? And Amy, is there an experience that you had that was scary that you thought was a ghost ever? We'll start with Amy.
So, I have never had an encounter with what I would call a ghost. I've had all sorts of creepy phenomena, and probably within the past 5 or 10 years, when something goes bump in the night and I get a little bit spooked, I have leaned into a skeptic mentality, and I've tried to work it out and either figure out what's going on or try to think what it could be. But I've never actually had something that has pushed me to believe in a non-natural event. Open to it, though. Totally open-minded.
Gotcha. And then Dominic, most scary experience that you've had?
Oh my God.
Again.
That's a great question. In order to answer that question, you have to understand that there are many things out there that are unexplainable. I ran face to face with a ghost once, and it was just unbelievable. I turned around. I was in a castle. I wasn't paying attention. I was just watching the equipment, watching where I was walking. And I turned around, and there was a full entity standing in front of me, looking right in my eyes, as if something like I hate to use this term, something like out of Hollywood. I mean, it's just I couldn't speak, I couldn't talk. I was just flabbergasted by what I saw, and I mean, just every single investigation always you always see something different and more exciting and more not scary, but more intriguing than the last investigation. So. I mean, there's so many things that I've seen. It's just that would probably be. I mean, if you want to talk scary, I think it was scary not because I didn't understand what it was, but just I wasn't expecting it. I turned around, I was staring right in front of. It was unbelievable.
You got it. And Hannah Anderson says, "Do your religious beliefs influence your paranormal beliefs?"
Well, seeing that I've seen demons, I've seen angels before. It's a very fine line. You can't say paranormal. Yes, they do. To answer that question, yes, they do. Because in order to understand the spirit world, I think you have to accept religion in some sense. I'm a Catholic. I know that Christ exists. I know that Mary exists. I know there is a heaven and hell. Like I said before, I know there's a purgatory. I know there was a war in heaven a long time ago that separated. 1/3 of the angels descended from heaven to earth and created, hell, whatever you want to call it, evil or whatever. So
you got it.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna have some food.